in studio with us, Mayor Scott Maddasion. Good to see you, Scott. I know you had an engagement earlier this morning. Appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, no problem. I was out at the Wild Rose. They have the Iowa Racing and Gaming Commission there this morning for their, I don't know if it's quarterly meeting or a monthly meeting. I think it's quarterly, but yeah. So got to speak at that this morning and meet a couple of those folks, and it was good.
Before we get into the program, I would imagine that's something that you have to do a lot of as the mayor of Clinton. I know I see you before the half marathon and other events. So talk about being the presence of Clinton, Iowa.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest part of my job is I guess for lack of a better word, I'm the face of Clinton. Yeah. I'm the person that represents all of us, right? And as long as it fits with my schedule, I don't ever say no. There are a couple times that I've said no recently because I got to have my own stuff too, you know, but it is, I try to get out to anything and everything that I can, and welcome people and thank people and be that face that people can come talk to if they need to as well.
Okay, of course, we got to get started with tailgate and tall boys. Looked like the only problem might have been the wind on Thursday. Yeah. Otherwise, things look pretty good.
Yeah. I don't know why it was so windy. The concert folks, the promoters are like, why is it so windy here? I'm like, it's never windy. I don't know.
Yeah. It was windy.
Yeah, it was rough. It delayed us a little bit on Thursday. But, I mean, I've heard nothing but positive feedback from folks. And I know there's always going to be some negative people and some suggestions and things like that. But overall, I thought the weekend flowed extremely well. I was just telling some folks earlier that one thing I gauge success on is public safety side of things. Like, did we have a lot of incidents? Did we have a lot of medical or police-related matters? And we did not. I mean, we had the weather probably helped on the medical side of things because we didn't have much overheating. We didn't have any of that kind of stuff. But we had a little bit. And then on the police side, you know, we didn't have to arrest anybody to my knowledge. And some people got kicked out or some people got pulled out of the crowd and asked to settle down and go back in there. But I'm just really proud of everybody that went to the show in our community, because if things go awry that way, it can get bad, right? And so far, 2 years in a row, we've had a great crowd, a great group of people that just want to go down there and listen to live music and have fun.
Crowd control, is that primarily on your part, or does the promoter have to be a part of that?
The promoter and the police department, really. So the promoter has the security there. They're supposed to be the first line of defense, so to speak. Like, they're identifying problems. If it escalates above a security matter, then our police department comes into. But they also walk around, and if our police see something going on that's not supposed to happen, they intervene. So it's kind of a team effort, but we try to kind of lay back a little bit so the police are not necessarily the one that are kicking people out. It should be security that does that.
You did make some changes from first year to the second year, primarily on the entrances, the stage. How'd that go?
I thought it was perfect. I actually had a couple people that didn't think it was, but I thought the way it was laid out, I think a lot of comments of people walking along the stadium to come into the festival, they felt like it was more inviting and more vibrant. That I agree. The drop-off was real close to the front gate, so people weren't walking a long ways. They didn't have to go up the levee and then down and around, so I think that was really nice. And just overall space, I felt like our VIP section was much larger this year. Last year it was pretty cramped because it was smaller. We sold a lot more tickets this year too, so that helps. And I just felt like everything really, really kind of was set up good. And then having the logistical team in one spot backstage instead of two different locations really helped USA Concerts' efficiencies on the back end, because they just really didn't need to do a lot of things that they did last year. Last year they were always on radios, and this year they didn't really need that because everybody was in one spot.
You know what I found very interesting was the number of people in our community. I mean, it was just incredible watching people walk along 2nd Street in the downtown area getting ready to go into the concert. And of course you had the campgrounds there at Hawthorne, the regular campground on the riverfront, and then what you folks do out on Comanche Avenue is spectacular.
Yeah, we added camping on Comanche Avenue this year in the Lincoln Way. That we put about a month out, put 83 spots for sale. We sold 60 of them. We added 35 or 38 campsites at the marina parking lot where the boats are usually stored, sold out. We added another 20 spots next to the venue on the riverfront grounds by the band shell, sold out. We're really trying to brand this as a camping festival. We don't have a abundance of hotel rooms, right? We're limited on the hotel side. It's not like we're Chicago where there's thousands of rooms, and you can ride the train down. So we're really trying to promote that camping is welcome. This is what we want to do, and we're going to continue to make some adjustments there. We pre-sold parking on Lincoln Way. We had 1,097 pre-sold parking spots on Lincoln Way. Last year, we parked 100 cars all weekend. We had 1,000 a day.
How did the shuttle work?
Worked perfectly. The first night when people were leaving was rough because the pickup, the way it was situated, we had people lined up like all the way down and around. They adjusted that for day 2, and I think it flowed a lot better day 2. We probably needed more shuttles. We had 6 going, but we also had the Jolly Trolleys going and things like that, which helped. But we probably needed more shuttles if we're going to have 1,000+ cars a day out there, plus camping. So
again, visiting with Scott Maddasion before we take a break for the weather. Let's continue with Tailgate and Tall Boys because it is such a big event for the city of Clinton. Second year. It was a 3-year deal. Yep. How's that looking?
It looks really good. I mean, this year, attendance-wise, we had about 12.5 on Thursday, 10.5 on Friday, and then that 12.5 to probably 13 almost on Saturday. The difference between Thursday and Saturday is a lot of people showed up late. They only came for Shinedown. They didn't come for the first 3 acts, which you should have came for the first 3 acts because those acts were outstanding all day, and they were not country bands. People thought that they were country bands. We lined up the 3 folks that were there. The first guy was a bluesy guy. The second 2 were like straight gritty southern rock, like Lynyrd Skynyrd on steroids, right? Which is still country, but they really fit well with Shinedown as far as how it was laid out. So if you miss those, that stinks because Saturday was probably my favorite day. Just pure musicianship and just pure, just melting your face off with the guitar solos and stuff, So I had a good time, but we're looking really good. I mean, our attendance was up probably about 10,000 people over the weekend from last year. We were probably 26,000 last year. We were close to that 35 this year because we reached that 10,000 per day plus some.
I want to talk about just the artist just a little bit. Jelly Roll, of course, back for his second year. Unfortunately, his flight got delayed, so he was late.
Yeah.
Bailey Zimmerman, country act, kind of an up-and-comer. Yep. Shinedown, we had Ashley Hatterberg on our Grow Clinton show on Monday. She said that's the 3rd or 4th time she has seen Shinedown. And you were commenting before we went on air how professional they are.
Oh, they were awesome. I mean, their show was just down to the point. Like every detail was perfect, whether it was the stage or how they reacted or what their lead singer said on stage. And then obviously they've been doing this for 20 years. They played things perfectly, right? And I really liked how they changed it up. They get kind of a harder rock vibe sometimes, but they have some softer songs, and they mix it up where they did some acoustic, they did some piano, they did some just 2 band members out there, they did the full band. They were after the show, they were out there for probably 45 minutes signing autographs. I mean, for a band that's been around for 20 years, they truly know why they've been around for 20 years, right? It's the fans, the people. And so I thought that was really cool and really professional of them to do that.
All right, much more to talk about with Scott Maddasion. Our weather update brought to you by Premier Home Furnishings.
We are going to see a hot and humid day today before we bring in those storms. Highs are going to be in the low 90s, likely going to see heat index values in the upper 90s and near 100. That's definitely going to give us some storm energy as we get into the afternoon. Expecting storms to begin to push in around 3 or 4 o'clock. That'll continue through the evening hours. Damaging winds and hail are going to be the main threats. Can't rule out the possibility of a tornado. I'm Storm Track 8 meteorologist Morgan Strackbine.
81 degrees right now, southwest winds at around 15. Our update brought to you by Premier Home Furnishing.
Looking to buy a new mattress or bedroom set? Then you need to head to Premier Home Furnishings, where they are celebrating their 20th year in business. They have over 25 mattresses and box springs set up for you to try out, including Sutherland mattresses that come with a 10-year warranty. You're sure to find the one that's just right for you. And while you're there, be sure to try out their great selection of lift chairs. It's the 20-year anniversary celebration going on right now at Premier Home Furnishings, 2001 Lincoln Way, Clinton.
Back with more on today's FYI with Mayor Scott Maddasion. Let's talk a little bit about the construction up there on Main Avenue.
Yeah, this is one outlet that we can always give updates to citizens, when they're listening, so that we can let them know what's going on. And there's going to be some construction on Main Avenue that's getting resurfaced. So that will be between 3rd Street and 2nd Street. So just expect some delays. I always say this: if you can avoid going down that way, you can get into the parking lots for all those businesses from those side streets. Mm-hmm. So don't avoid those businesses. Just come in on the side streets instead of the main street, so that we get out of the construction guys' ways and they can get that done quickly.
Seems like a lot of construction going on, but probably needed.
Yeah, there's 2 seasons in Iowa. There's construction season and winter, and that's what we're in right now. And you're going to see a lot of different road stuff. The council does a great job of allocating dollars and working with engineering to make sure our pavement management program's good. They do about $3 to $3.5 million a year right now, which infrastructure is important, and I commend the council for really focusing on infrastructure and kind of buying into that, because too many potholes on your road can give your city a bad rap when you got wonderful things going on. So we want to make sure that everything, that as people are driving around, their roads are safe, they don't have holes in them, and we're putting our best foot forward on that front.
Of course, also up in the north end, you've got that activity that's going along by the bridge on 19th Avenue North. Is the city involved with that, Scott?
Yeah, so that was a traffic safety improvement project through the DOT as well, because that's a DOT intersection technically, right? So that should be wrapping up here pretty soon. They were cutting concrete in the middle of it yesterday, I saw when I drove by, so that's good. So that's going to get all restriped and all that stuff, and new signals will go up and everything. So that project should get wrapped up here shortly, I hope. And I know there was a delays with the bridge, and I apologize to our folks across the river, Fulton. We apparently didn't tell them that the bridge was going to be shut down for a few days. So we definitely apologize for that. That's not a good community partner, and we'll make sure that we fix that. We already have some procedures in place and let them, so they can know if something like that happens again. So small oversight, kind of not a terrible result, but potentially could have been if there was a public safety issue over there in Fulton. So we're going to get better at that for sure.
It's not that often that we have to shut down one of the bridges, either the north or the south bridge. But when one is shut down, you can see the advantage of having 2 bridges for our community.
Yeah, and we're lucky to have 2 at our size. Yes. Very lucky. Yes. So, yeah, definitely, and especially certain times of day when folks are coming to and from work, and, you got the trucks coming through and all that. So, yeah, we definitely need to make sure that we're more diligent on how we do that kind of stuff, just to make sure that traffic flows are not interrupted too much. They're always going to be if you shut something down, but yeah.
I know Dubuque has more than one, and of course Davenport as well. You probably know more than I. What about Muscatine and Burlington, communities around our size? Do they just have one bridge that crosses the Mississippi?
Boy, I don't remember. I don't know if I've ever gone across the bridges down there. I've been to Muscatine and Burlington a few times, but I don't know that for sure. That'd be an interesting thing to look up. I'll check into that. Maybe give you an update next month.
Because it is. We are so fortunate to have the 2 bridges. No doubt about that.
Yeah.
Demos, you got some houses coming down?
Yeah, we got about 8 houses coming down that a council approved at the meeting the other night. So that stuff will be kicking off. They have a little bit of time to do them, so they're not going to come down like tomorrow, but pretty close. And then obviously, if you drive down there, the old Salvation Army building came down, that roof caved in. We potentially had a safety issue. We're worried about the wall falling into the alley there, which is a public alley, so we needed to get that down quickly. And Mike's Fun Foods is still there, so make sure you run down. I think they have most of the stuff away now, but make sure you get down to him when he's open, so you can patronize his business still as well.
Again, visit with Scott Maddasion. For our listeners, talk about the process of getting an approval for a demolition of property.
Yeah, so it takes a while. There's there's a legal process that it has to go through for the city to take possession of a property, and the only time we go through that process is if it's been abandoned and it's no taxes are being paid on it, and there's a time frame that it has to go through. It has to hit 2 tax sales before we can even attempt to take it. So you're talking, a year plus before the city can even attempt to try to get a property. And the ones that we have on this list are nothing that we don't take properties from people. All right. So the properties that are left and abandoned, and we need to get rid of them, especially if they're a safety hazard. And these ones are those types of properties that the owners just walked away and no contact. So we need to make sure we take care of those. So
we are so fortunate not only to have the 2 bridges, but to have that beautiful riverfront. Of course, Tailgate and Tallboys, they fell in love with that area. USA Concerts
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
did. So we've got Finally Friday coming up this Friday. Juneteenth is coming up next Wednesday.
Yep.
So it's great to have that large of an area to celebrate these events.
Yeah, I absolutely love having events on the riverfront, and it doesn't matter what it is, small scale, large scale. Utilizing that space down there is awesome, and I would call Finally Fridays definitely a large scale event. I mean, there's 4,000 or 5,000 people there sometimes, which is really cool. And I know Juneteenth this year partnered with the Lumber Kings, and they're going to have their celebration at Nelson Corps Field. So for that celebration next Wednesday, you want to make sure that you go to Nelson Corps Field. They won't be at the band show like they were last year, so that's cool. And then Music on the Avenue kicks off tonight down there on 5th. So I mean, there's between the festival last weekend and then music, and then Friday, a lot of live music happening in Clinton, a lot of things going on. And I know, last year Juneteenth had a band. I don't remember reading it on the flyer, but I think they have another band there this year that'll be playing on Juneteenth, but I'd have to check that for sure. So
I'm hoping to get somebody in on the program next week, either Tuesday or Wednesday, to talk about the event. And it was 2021, I think it was Joe Biden who signed this, made this a federal holiday. So there'll be no postal work, there'll be no banks open.
No credit unions open.
No credit. So you get another day off for Scott Maddasion.
Love those days, right? It won't be a day off though, because I'll be at the Juneteenth thing doing the proclamation at the beginning, and I'm sure I'll have some city business that I can handle that day and get ready to go. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Public art around town.
Yeah.
I had Greg Obrin in not too long ago, and he was talking about
Good.
it.
So you guys, the listeners have a good idea of what I'm talking about. But I just think it's really cool that when you wander around that they have those public art pieces in different places, and it's a cool program that we're in. We'll be able to rotate those pieces out every so often, and it's just something that really is unique to a community, right? And I think arts and culture is an important thing, and we have a lot of space that we can use to display things like this. So if you're running around town, look at those different places. Just pay attention. There's some on Riverfront. There's one at the sidewalk roundabout out in front of City Hall. There's one right there. There's one. I guess there's a lot on the riverfront. But yeah, just watch for those and really take a look at them. And we're going to continue to make sure that arts and culture is an important piece of what we display here.
As always, appreciate your time. I know how busy you are. So if people would like to find out more about the city, how can they best do that?
Yeah, the one thing you can do is if you go onto our website for iCompass, you can subscribe to all the press releases and notices and all that kind of stuff, which I think is really cool. So just if you're interested in the Traffic Study Commission, you can get a notification every time they have a meeting, see what their agenda is, go do that, or finance or whatever it is. So I encourage all the citizens to go on there, because then you don't necessarily have to look all the time. You get an email that says, hey, you wanted to know about this, here's the information. So I think that's a cool way for you to get involved, and you can get council agendas and all that good stuff. So,
all right, as always, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Love it. Embrace it. Right now. The Dan Patrick Show.
Dan Patrick.
Ronnie is the name. I hope he gets an opportunity to just play. This is the father in me, and this is somebody with 40 years of experience of witnessing all of this in all of these sports, where this guy is the next. And I always say, no, nobody's the next.
The Dan Patrick Show.
Dan and the Danettes and you. Heard weeknights at 6 on FM 105.9 and AM 1340.